Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Phil Arno. WBBZ has been based in the Eastern Hills Mall for the last 10 years. Since we've been here, the mall has changed significantly, and I think everyone would agree, not necessarily for the good. Mountain Development has been a New Jersey company that's owned the mall over those years, and whether or not they could have done something differently, who knows. But now some new blood has entered the picture. A local Western New York developer, Uniland, has bought into the ownership of the mall, and plans are underway for a rebirth, if you will, of what was once the pride of Western New York malls. Uniland held a press conference last week to announce plans for the future of the Eastern Hills property. To begin with, Mark Bruffett from Gensler Architectural talked about the overall design of the property and how the project will be introduced in phases over the next several years.
We're going to share with you a really ambitious vision for a new town center here where the Eastern Hills Mall is today. We're going to talk to you about some plans about how to make that real, what's our sort of timeline, how we're going to bring this to fruition, and super importantly, we're inviting you to be a part of this process. So we're talking about a town center, but before we keep using that term, I want to define that for you because a town center can mean different things to different people. So when we're talking about a town center, what is it we're talking about? We think a town center is a single place where you can live, you can work, and how we work is changing rapidly before our very eyes. It's a place where you can play, where kids can play, where the community can come together. It's a place where you can stay, and we envision 2 hotels on this site. It's a place where you can shop. Retail is changing, but it's not dead, contrary to the reports that you hear. And we think this is going to be a fantastic place showcasing local retailers and perhaps some name brand flagship retail as well. It's going to be a great place to eat. Some of these will be familiar to you and some will be new. And most importantly, it's a place where you can come together as a community, enjoy arts, culture, and other things that are sort of the fabric that sort of keep a community alive and together. So when these come together in one place, that is a town center. Now you might be saying there are already places in this area to shop or to eat or to live or to play, and that's true. But none of them have come together in one location like they will here at the Eastern Hills Town Center. So we share with you tonight this vision of this town center. The images I'm going to share with you are suggestive. So we don't have final designs. That's not what this is about. We're going to be sharing some photography from other locations, other communities, because it evokes the spirit about what we want to create here. And we're also going to share some imagery that we've created specifically for this town center to try to dial in a little bit more about what you can expect. So we think about this mall today. Here's kind of what you see. There is a mix of 1- and 2-story spaces. Most of those 2-story spaces are labeled with these sort of key locations. So JCPenney, the Niagara Emporium, Raymore and Flanagan, and the Buffalo Store. We've done some studies to look at adapting this mall and trying to reuse as much as possible. What's most likely going to happen is we're going to keep all of the 2-story spaces and probably transform all of the 1-story space that connects them. As we transition to the new town center, though, we don't think that this, as a sort of shopping destination, will ever sort of shut down. We very much are open for business today in this mall with some great merchants, and we're creating a transition plan that will always keep commerce occurring right here at this location. So this will never shut down permanently, and that's really important for us to sort of emphasize. So the big reveal, if this is the mall today, what's a sense of what you're going to expect tomorrow? So I'm going to put this image up and let you sort of soak this in for a sec because it's amazing. This is the new Eastern Hills Town Center. We're so thrilled to share this with you. We really believe this has the ability to transform this community for many generations to come. It's a lot to absorb, and you're probably wondering, what the heck is even on here? With so much to see, how do we sort of explain what this is? So I'll come back to that image, but let's do this. Let's sort of consider the journey of a few fictional people. We'll give you sort of a day in the life, if you will, and how this community might impact people in the future, how it'll be a part of their daily life. So imagine talking to someone who lives here. She's young professional. She's focused on career success. She wants memorable experiences, loves to have fun with her friends. How might this new town center fit into her life? So we mentioned before that there are apartments. We'll probably have about 450 apartments. So what we're imagining is she wakes up, she's in one of these apartments, she grabs her dogs, takes them for a walk on the community, goes to a dog park that we have here on site. She goes to one of the office buildings, perhaps it's a co-working space where she's doing some freelance work. She hosts a virtual meeting in the co-working space, stops by one of the shops, sends out a package. She meets friends for lunch over at the food hall, amazing showcase for local flavors. On the way out, she grabs a latte from the coffee shop, and she gets energized for the afternoon. She heads over to the soccer fields and plays a game. And maybe at the end of the night, she meets up with a date over at a tapas restaurant right here at the sort of town square that's within this town center. What might the journey of other people be? So imagine a couple, they have children, they're middle class, maybe they live in the north towns, but they don't live over here, and they're focused on playful experiences and running errands. What's a typical day for them going to consist of? So maybe they bike over to this community because our vision is to attach and connect the biking path that's around this community to the many miles of biking paths that are already here in the town of Clarence. They ride around this entire community. They stop over at the farmer's market. They grab some apple cider. They grab some fresh local produce. They head over to the food hall, grab a new burrito from the joint there, and they eat it outside in the town square while the kids play nearby. They swing by the local pharmacy, they grab a passport photo for a trip that's coming up, and then to end the day, they head over to one of the townhomes where someone they know has a housewarming party, and they're there to celebrate. So it's another journey that we can imagine in this remarkable town center. To give you a sort of third and final, I'll call it imaginary sort of scenario, imagine someone who is at or near retirement. They're focused on enjoying their newfound free time. They might choose residence in this age-qualified community, 55 and over, for low-maintenance living. They enjoy breakfast with friends in the dining room, and they move over to the medical office for physical therapy. They go to the spa, enjoy themselves a little bit, rest, relax, and then because they're in retirement and they're focused on their savings, they go to the accountant's office, they check in with him in one of the professional office spaces that's here. Most importantly, at the end of the day, a little bit of ice cream from a local creamery showcased here, and we think it's the end of a great day. So there's so much to share and to show with you, and we want you to be thinking about your own journey at this town center, and we're so excited for your feedback. A couple comments. Why is this happening now? What's happening? So shopping and retail have undergone enormous changes. Eastern Hills has to adapt. Staying the course is not tenable for the businesses that are here. We must change. And consider what this could mean, not just for the town of Clarence, but indeed for all of Western New York. This is a celebration of your community. This can be an expanded tax base for generations to come. And this can give compelling reasons for people to stay in this area if they grew up here, or for people to move here. We think it has that sort of staying power, and we're so excited to share it with you. It can really mean a renewed sense of vitality and vigor. And we also think that this can complement, not necessarily have to compete, with the Boulevard Mall and Northtown Plaza and shopping downtown. We generally want to see this entire community elevated, revitalized, and this is a contribution to that. How are we going to get there? So the reality is there's about 1 million square feet of space built out in this mall today. The vision we're sharing with you is about 3 times that, 3 million square feet. That's not constructed or approved in a very short time frame. So we're looking out really at a 25-year horizon. And we know that sounds ambitious, but that's the practical reality. We're also just at the beginning stages of this journey. There is so much more interaction we seek with the public. We need the approvals from the town of Clarence. We're conducting traffic studies right now to understand how this community will be impacted. And we look forward to having a continued dialogue with you. Our hope is that really in the calendar year 2020, this might be approved. And hopefully in 2021, shovels get into the ground. So a remarkable opportunity that's starting right before our very eyes. And the message I'll leave you with is this: we're listening. But most importantly, I want to leave you with a heartfelt thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you tremendously.
You met Mark in a previous edition of The Big Picture, and in that show we also talked with Carl Montante Jr., Executive Vice President of Uniland. Without Carl, those plans and this project would not exist.
Carl, what's the reaction been to the plans?
So far it's been very positive. We had a meeting with town officials last week, and that went very well. We also had a meeting this morning with the merchants of the mall. Also went very well. This is a huge project, and it's not something that really exists on this scale in the area. So it's going to take some time to wrap your head around it. But so far, the fact that it's far from just a retail center, it's going to be much more than that, and we're really looking to create a lifestyle for people that right now they can't enjoy, at least in terms to the degree that we're hoping to provide.
Now, in the meeting this morning, and being a mall merchant, we kind of have a twofold mission that not only are we broadcasting information about what's happening, but we live it as a stakeholder. Somebody mentioned, boy, it's going to take so long, I'm not even going to be around by the time this is done. How do you respond to people who say, that's long term and it looks terrific, what's happening in the short term?
Well, there's a lot of work to be done, for sure. But what we're going to be doing in the short term is continuing to work with the current mall merchants to make sure that word is that the mall is still open for business. And in fact, we're getting new tenants on a regular basis that really offer some great products and services. So that's number one. Number two, we're going to be talking with the mall merchants to determine their interest in jumping into phase one of this project. So we're going to be, that's the next step, is really designing phase one. How much retail, how much office space, how many residential units are we looking to build? And then we'll have to go through the regulatory process and then find investors and then put a shovel in the ground. But, you know, unfortunately, that's going to take some time. But in the meantime, again, the message is that the mall is open for business, and we would love to see your continued business.
One last question. With the Montante family, a respected name in Western New York, but from what I've seen, mostly in the office park and in a different way of doing development. What brought you into lifestyle center, mall development, retail? What was the attraction for the Montante group and Uniland?
Well, we have done some mixed-use development in the past. We did the Avant project, which is a combination of hotel, office, and residential space. We also did the Delaware North building, which is a combination of retail, hotel, and office space. So we're familiar with mixed-use development, but in our travels around the country, we've seen projects like this Envision Town Center be very successful and thrive on a larger scale of mixed use. So we haven't seen it yet in Western New York. And so we think the time is right. We think the people of Western New York are ready for a much more walkable, pedestrian-oriented type of experience where you can live, work, and play without having to get in your car and go to each and every activity. So this is an evolution of a lifestyle that we've seen work very successfully around the country, and we're looking to bring it into Western New York.
Good luck to you, Carl, and thanks for letting us be a part of the journey with you.
Thank you.
In addition to WBBZ being a resident at the mall, a branch of the Erie County Department of Motor Vehicles is based here as well. Mickey Kearns is the Erie County Clerk, and he is looking forward to expanding the county's DMV services here at the mall and expanding them soon.
We looked at the number of transactions at all of our facility, and the one thing that kept coming up is our Eastern Hills Mall location. We found that we did need more space, and our transactions are going on an upward trajectory. The timetable is we'd like to have it in the early part of 2020, in the first quarter of 2020. I'd like to have it complete. Now, that's me. I'm a little aggressive, but it's based on approvals by the Erie County Legislature. So I would be hopeful that maybe in mid-December we could file the paperwork, hopefully by beginning of January. And we've been aggressively working with the mall team to have a plan in place. We've met with architects, and we're ready to go. So I think we could have this open by first quarter of 2020 if everything goes as planned. For people that know, October 1st, 2020, if you want to get on a plane and fly domestically, if you want to get into a federal building, or you want to cross into Canada, you're going to need a Real ID or enhanced driver's license or your passport. So I know a lot of people don't carry their passport. So people are going to have to come in, and we're anticipating more than 136,000 people because there are people that have a later renewal, but because they're going to want to amend their license for that enhanced driver's license, we could be looking to close to 150 to 200,000 people just on licenses. Our numbers have gone up. Last year we had a record year, a record surplus at the clerk's office, and you say, well, why does that matter to me? Well, all that money, that surplus goes into the county fund, and that keeps your taxes low. And I think that's a good thing when you have a partnership where we're sending a lot of money to the county, keeping your taxes low. That's our job, is to process and do the best we can for Erie County taxpayers. So one, remember, we have a reservation system. So if you make an appointment, you're going to get in and out, especially now with our high cycle coming up.